Good morning, everybody. Mitch again. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks since I've done a video. Last week, I went to travel to New Hampshire to the 6-Hour Academy and did some advanced pistol training when I was up there. I highly recommend it. Great time, great trainers, learned a lot. Anyway, today I want to talk about close calls. And I don't necessarily mean with us. I mean with our patients, our customers. One particular one stands out. Well, there's actually quite a few of them, but I'll start with this one. It was February 27th. We were working out of Ghazni, and we got an urgent medevac for a gunshot wound to the head for Fob Warrior. And Fob Warrior was the furthest extent to the south that we would travel out of Ghazni, and it was like 27 minutes. And so it didn't matter. Every time we went there, we broke the golden hour because just that's the way it was. So we took off, went to the south, got down there, and they're bringing the patient out. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the patient was walking. Right? What's happening? This guy was shot in the head, and ends up that whoever shot him or shot at him, whatever, hit his Kevlar, and it hit at an angle enough to where, and it didn't have enough power behind it it had enough power to go through the Kevlar, but not enough power to puncture his skull. So it basically went in and popped him in the forehead and gave him a big freaking bruise, a big horn on his head. I was like, are you kidding me? That was the craziest thing I think I've ever seen at that time. And, yeah, so obviously he survived, and hopefully, called his parents and told them to play the lottery, because, he was pretty lucky at that point. There was another one. I don't have the date, but we picked up a U.S. soldier out of Ghazni that had burns to the side of his face. And they weren't 100% sure at first what the hell caused the burns. And so they treated the burns, and they weren't too severe. I mean, basically just kind of scorched a little bit. Nothing, I mean, just superficial. And they were looking at his equipment, and his Kevlar plate on the front, I'm sorry, his ceramic chicken plate up front there had a scrape from one side to the other. And it was dug in pretty deep. And then we start talking to some of the other guys I was with, and what it was is an RPG went right in front of him, right across in the fin, gouged the plate, and obviously the flame from the rocket burnt the side of his face. It's like, oh my God, it's like insane. And I didn't think, people were that lucky. Working out of, Shank, we went, I can't remember where, but it was north of Shank there. And we went up and we picked up a guy that was shot from armpit to armpit, and he was fine. I mean, he had, I think, 2 collapsed lungs. I mean, not fine, but to me, if you're getting shot from here to here, exit here, you got a lot of major stuff going on here. You got heart, you got spine, you got lungs. Somehow it managed to miss his heart and his spine, and got his lungs going again, and he was fine. It's just insane. Another one actually happened to us, and if any of you follow Gentex, they make the helmets for aviation and military, and I had submitted this story some time ago, and there's a picture of the helmet. I'll post it in this video. But I had just got home from R&R back from the States. It was in April time frame. And just got back the night before. And I got up and somebody ran in our tent and said that our aircraft had been hit. And he's like, come. And I was like, so I think I was wearing my shorts and t-shirt, whatever, PT gear as they call it. And I had my shoes on, grabbed my stuff, and I ran out to the aircraft, the first slot in our parking area. They were just taxiing in. And I'm standing there. I'm like, what the hell's happening? And I can't think it was the crew chief, walked over and handed me somebody's flight helmet. And I'm looking at it, and the whole, from the back to the forward area, it was like peeled up. I mean, it's a fiberglass shell. And it was like a tuna can. It was literally just peeled up, and there was this big flap just kind of flopping there. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the hell? And I could see the liner on the inside, the padding was, had blood in it. And I'm like, who the hell is this? And I see both pilots, I see the crew chief, I see the medic, and it was our flight surgeon we had on board. And what happened is they did a mission. I can't remember exactly where, but I think it was to the northwest of Shank. And two of my buddies went up there, and I guess there was a troops in contact initially, and then the fighting had stopped. So they were basically given the go-ahead to come in and land. They weren't taking fire. And there was multiple patients, and the medic and crew chief went out and did their thing. The medic got the first patient, brought him in. The flight doc stayed on board, and while they went out to get the other patient, the flight doc was checking out the patient, making sure, doing an assessment. And all of a sudden, the pilots up front, my two buddies, they said they felt like a pressure change in the cabin, like when you go get your ears checked, and you're in the hearing booth and they close the door, just that pressure change, that pressure differential in the cabin. They're like, what the hell was that? And then they hear this thump, and both of them look back in the cabin, and they see the flight doc on the floor doing the funky chicken, flopping around like, oh, what the hell's going on? And so they're waving for the other crew members, the medic and the crew chief, to get in the aircraft, and they get the other patient in there, and they get out of there. They take off, and when they got back, we're looking at the helmet, and then we start looking at the aircraft, doing assessment. And what happened was, this is almost unbelievable, but it's 100% true. They were waiting for us to come in, and they shot an RPG at the aircraft on the ground. The two sliding doors on the Black Hawk, they have two plexiglass windows in each one. The rocket went through the right side plexiglass, and the doc was kneeling over the patient, and it hit him at a glancing angle on the back of the head, and obviously gave him traumatic brain injury, concussion, and obviously it didn't kill him. And then the rocket continued on the back side of the left door. There's a main support structure in a Black Hawk. It's a pretty solid beam there with aluminum beams, whatever, and it just glanced off that and punched a hole through the thin aluminum door and kept going. And it went outside the aircraft, hit the ground, and that was the thump that they heard. It blew up outside the aircraft. And we're looking around in the cabin and stuff, and we find a fin for in an RPG, the fins fold forward in the tube. When it comes out of the tube, they drop down to guide it, or not to really guide it, but to keep it going straight. And so I'm convinced that by the rocket hitting his head, it changed the direction of that rocket enough to where it just glanced off that beam. If it would have hit that solid dead on, would have blown up. Directly behind it is the fuel cell, one of the fuel cells in the aircraft. He ended up being all right. All the people that work with him said that afterwards he was a better person because of it. Obviously, it changes your outlook on life, and I thought he was awesome to begin with, but just insane. It's a crazy story to tell his children, and it's just one of many extremely close calls that we had. And the funny thing is, when they had a guy, he's Department of whatever, civilian, came in, and he was doing an assessment of the aircraft to determine the weapon system that was used. And it was like Wile E. Coyote in the glass. You see a cross, 4 fins, and then a big circle in the middle. I was like, dude, it's an RPG. Oh, we don't know that. Anyway, that's when we pulled the fin up, like, dude, here's an RPG fin. Oh, I still don't. I was like, okay. And what did the assessment say? It was an RPG. So I guess he had to justify his existence there. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. I have obviously more stories I'll tell. And obviously, if you have any questions, please ask. And I'll get back to you, as I always do, as quick as possible. And if you haven't tried yet, Whiskey Morning Coffee. Awesome. In fact, where the hell's my cup? Right here. I'm still drinking it this morning. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good week. Be safe. And also, the month of May is Military Appreciation Month. I appreciate all the current active duty, reserves, National Guard units out there, and obviously all the veterans that served in any capacity. I appreciate you all. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.